everyone, myself Soumya, Assistant Professor in CSE ML Department, MLR Institute of Technology. In this video, I'm going to discuss about consensus mechanism in blockchain. Coming to the overview of this presentation covers what is consensus protocol, what do you mean by Byzantine-General's problem. So why we are discussing Byzantine-General's problem in the sense the need for consensus protocol is Byzantine-General's problem. So that we are going to discuss here, and what are the different objectives of consensus protocol and what are the different consensus protocols, the main consensus protocols we have, algorithms we have, and other mechanisms, consensus algorithms. We have so many other algorithms also. Mainly we are using some 8 algorithms in consensus algorithms. Other than that, we also have some other algorithms which are not mainly we are using. So that also we are going to discuss in this video. So first of all, what is consensus mechanism in blockchain? So consensus protocol. So what is consensus? So as per Webster dictionary, consensus is nothing but it is a general agreement or opinion shared by all the people in a group. So we know blockchain is nothing but there is no central authority. So everyone has equal priority to take their decision here. It's not centralized. Blockchain itself is nothing but it's a decentralized. For example, this is a blockchain network I have. Consider. Now I want to add a node or I want to add a transaction. Then who will validate this? So generally, if it is a centralized server, so since it's centralized server will validate the transaction, whether the transaction is valid or not. If it is valid, then only the transaction will be added to the network. But as we know, blockchain is a decentralized network. There is no central authority to validate the transaction. So who will validate? So how can I add the transaction to the block? How can I add block to the blockchain? So this all depends on the consensus mechanism. So consensus mechanism is nothing but it is an agreement among the parties. For example, here in this network, basically we have 4 different nodes. I want to add one transaction or I want to add some node. So then I will send that request to all the parties here. Then if the most of the parties have said okay, this transaction is valid, then I can add the transaction to the blockchain. So that is nothing but consensus protocol. Consensus is nothing but it is an agreement among the parties. So they are agreeing whether the transaction is valid or not. And why we are specifying this protocol? Protocol is nothing but set of rules. So that will be followed by each and every authority or the node which is involved in the blockchain. So overall, consensus protocol is nothing but set of rules. Those rules are followed by all the nodes which are there in the blockchain. But why we need this consensus protocol in the sense to make some agreements or to make some decisions about the validation of the block or the validation about the transaction. If I want to add the transaction to the blockchain, then first it needs to go under the consensus protocol. If it is satisfying that consensus mechanism, then I can add the transaction to the blockchain. And why we need this consensus protocol? So why they have come up with this concept called consensus protocol? So the initial, the base for this consensus protocol is nothing but Byzantine-General's problem. So after that problem, they realized they need a consensus protocol or consensus mechanism to validate or to add a transaction to the blockchain. So first we will discuss about what is this Byzantine problem. So before going into this diagram, first we'll discuss about the problem. So Byzantine-General problem is nothing but, so there are 2 Byzantine armies. So they are Roman armies. They want to attack a similar city, a place. So they want to attack a fortified city. So we have a city here and we have 2 armies here. So these 2 armies, they want to attack on the city. So when this attack will be a successful attack or when this attack will be defeated, so we will see the different scenarios. So they are based on either side of the city. So one army is at one side of the city and the other army is at another side of the city. So the city is strong enough to withstand an individual attack of the entire either army, but not strong enough to define itself from a coordinated attack by the 2 armies at the same time. So if one army attacks the city, then the city is, able to defeat with them. But if both at a time, if both the armies are attack the city at the same time, then they can't beat that. They can't defeat that. The city is not overcome that attack, right? So what I mean, like when I can make it as a successful attack, when these 2 armies attack the city at the same time, then that will become a successful attack, withstand enough to So we have some issues to gain this victory. So what are the different issues we have here? The first one is General A will hesitate to attack the appropriate time if he does not get the acknowledgement from General B. So what is General A and General B? So to represent this army, we are taking General A, and to represent this army, we are taking the general as B. So A has sent some proposal to B at some particular time. We are going to attack the city. Then what A is expecting? A will expect some response or acknowledgement from the B. Okay, so I'm saying S, or I have received the message, something like that. He should get some acknowledgement from the B. Then only both will be ready to attack the city at the same time. So A may hesitate to attack the city if he is not getting any response or acknowledgement from the B city. So this is one possible where the attack may not be successful. And the another case, the enemies could capture General A's messenger and intercept the message. So here, how A is sending the message to B at this time, I want to attack. So at that case, I mean, at that time, we don't have any phones or any communication things. So they need to send one person, so who will travel through the city to reach the General B. So while traveling, these people, the villagers or the city people, they may attack this messenger and they may change the message, right? So that is one possibility to, I mean, like, stop the victory of the generals. And General A's message could be intercepted and replaced with a fake message. So they got the person, the messenger, they got the messenger, and they have changed the message. General B may hesitate to attack as he cannot verify the authenticity of the message. So if A didn't mention any authenticity of the message, so this message we are getting from General A. So generally we use some signatures, right? This is the message I'm sending. At the end of the message, I used to give some signature. So if A is not sending a message properly without any signature, then B may hesitate to accept that invitation. And General B may send an acknowledgement message, but there is no assurance that General B's messenger will not be caught by the enemies and the message intercepted or replaced. So General A send the request to B. General B is sending the acknowledgement, but while sending the acknowledgement, there may be a chance to attack this person, the messenger, and they may change the message, right? This is another possibility. So the lack of confidence or doubt between the generals may trickle down the soldiers. So even if all these are okay, even if there is no confidence in any of these generals, then they cannot attack the city at the same time. So if they don't attack the city at the same time, then it will lead to a defeat. So that the thing is explaining this diagram. So here, when I can get the victory, so if it is a coordinated attack. So what do you mean by coordinated attack? All the soldiers need to attack the city at the same time. But coming to when I can say the attack is defeated or when it is a uncoordinated attack. See, some of the persons are attacking the city, some of the persons are traitors, and some may be a delayed attack. So if there is no coordination, if there is no proper agreement among these persons, among these parties, then I cannot get the attack as a successful attack. So this is the problem or the base for consensus mechanism. So this problem, why we are getting this problem? Just because of this uncoordinated attack. There is no communication, there is no proper agreement among these soldiers. So just because of that, they got this issue. To overcome this problem, we are using consensus mechanism where all the parties need to agree on some rules and they need to follow that set of rules. So next, coming to the objectives of consensus protocol. So using consensus protocol, what we are going to achieve? The first one is unified agreement, fault tolerant, collaborative and participatory, egalitarian, incentivization, prevent double spending. So these are the different objectives of consensus protocol. So through consensus mechanism, we are going to achieve all this. So we'll see in detail. So first one is unified agreement. As we know, the definition of consensus protocol is nothing but a unified agreement among all the parties. So if some 10 parties are involving in the agreement, then most of the parties need to agree that protocol or agree that statement. Then it is nothing but unified agreement. So how we are setting this unified agreement in the blockchain? Using some protocol. Protocol is nothing but set of rules. So set of rules you are designing initially. If the rules are accepted by the majority of the people, then the transaction is going to be accepted. And next is fault tolerant. So we know blockchain is fault tolerant. So why we are saying fault tolerant in the sense, for example, I have 10 nodes in my blockchain or 10 blocks in my blockchain. So if 8 blocks are working properly and there is a problem with the 2 blocks, also the blockchain will work successfully. So if some of the nodes are not responsive, I mean, they're not giving some response, even though we have a problem with some of the nodes, the blockchain will work successfully if the some of the nodes are working properly. So that is nothing but fault tolerant. At any situation, the blockchain is fault tolerant. So even some of the nodes are unresponsive. I mean, some of the nodes in the sense, not majority of the nodes. If the 80% of the nodes are not working, then we can't give assurance that the blockchain will work. But if some of the nodes, the less number of 20% nodes of the 20% of the nodes are not working, not responsive, and 80% are responsive, then yes, I can say the blockchain will work successfully. And collaborative and participatory. So here, whatever the nodes are there, if we have 10 nodes, the 10 nodes have to participate in the agreement process. So every node has to participate and collaboratively they need to take the decision about this consensus mechanism. So they may say yes or no, but they have to participate in the consensus mechanism. So next is egalitarian. Egalitarian is nothing but something like balancing. I mean, like there's no additional priority for anyone in the network. So if 10 nodes are there, each node have equal preference. I mean, if some of the 9 persons are saying no and 1 person is saying yes, so if he has some highest priority, so consider in our college, so nine teachers are saying it as a no and principal is saying yes, then we can't go with this, right? Even he has a higher preference, we can't go with this. Why? Because the majority of people are not accepting that. So here also the same thing, each node have the equal preference. If he is saying, if the majority people are saying as no, then the transaction is not going to accept. And incentivization. So incentivization is nothing but, so why we are using this consensus mechanism? To accept or to validate a transaction. So for this validation, we are using some mining mechanism. The miners or set of nodes will participate in the mining process. Whoever validate that transaction successfully, then they are going to incentivize. I mean, they are going to, incentivize with some Bitcoins or Ethereum tokens like that. And prevent double spending. So using this consensus mechanism, you are stopping the the negativity or the duplicate of the transaction at the initial stage itself. For example, if you are not checking blindly, if you are accepting every transaction into the blockchain, what I'm doing, consider I have a Bitcoin. So I have 10 Bitcoins with me. So I'm spending this Bitcoins for purchasing some item. And at the same time, there's no validity here. We are not validating this transaction. The same 10 Bitcoins I am also using to purchase some other item. So this is called as double spending. So Bitcoin is nothing but it's not a physical money. It's a virtual money, right? So I can simply copy that money and I can use that money for other purpose also. This is called double spending. So when this double spending happens, there is no proper verification or validation of the blocks. So if I properly verify the transaction before entering into the blockchain itself, then I can overcome this double spending concept. So these are the different objectives of the consensus mechanism. So like unified agreement, fault tolerant, collaborative and participatory, egalitarian, incentivization and prevent double spending. So using this consensus mechanism, we are going to achieve all these objectives. And coming to the different consensus mechanisms. So these are the different mechanisms we are using generally. I mean, the most of the cases, in the most of the blockchain networks, we are using only these 7 mechanisms. So the first one is proof of work. Proof of elapsed time, proof of stake, delegated proof of stake, proof of authority, practical Byzantine fault tolerance, and wrapped. So the first one is proof of work. So this is the traditional proof of work or the consensus mechanism which we are using from the birth of the blockchain. So in the initial days, before introducing this blockchain concept, we have the concept of Bitcoin. So in the Bitcoin, they use this proof of work mechanism only. So what is meant by proof of work? So in the proof of work, it is a consensus mechanism where miners solve complex mathematical puzzles to validate the transaction and create new blocks. So to perform this validation of consensus mechanism, first of all, the miners need to solve some mathematical puzzle. So if they are okay, I mean, if they solve that mathematical puzzle, then they are eligible to validate the transaction. Coming to the examples, so the Bitcoin, as I said, this is the first version, the first application of blockchain, Bitcoin, and Ethereum, they are using this proof of work. Of course, the latest versions of Ethereum, they are also using some POS, proof of stake. And pros, coming to the advantages, it is highly secure and proven track record. Proven track record in the sense most of the application, the existing blockchain applications are using this proof of work mechanism. Coming to the cons and disadvantages, high energy consumption and slower transaction speed. So here to solve this complex mathematical puzzles, the miner needs so many, like the computational power is more. They need some GPU in terms of like the capacity is more, and it is also slower transaction speed when compared with the other consensus mechanism. But it is a traditional one. The first consensus mechanism was the proof of work, which used in the Bitcoin. Coming to the next one, proof of elapsed time. So the name itself, it is telling that the nodes for each and every node which is involving in the mining process will be allotted with a randomized timer. So just like a round robin in operating system, so some timer will be given to the person or the node. Then in this time only, the duration of the time will be given. With that elapsed time only, the node or the person or this node has to validate the transaction. So if the time is over, then that will be transferred to the another node, like that. So coming to the example, Hyperledger Sawtooth is the example for this proof of elapsed time. So this is the application where we are using proof of elapsed time consensus mechanism. And coming to the advantages, lower energy consumption than proof of work, and it is scalable. So when compared with the proof of work, all other consensus mechanism, they require only less energy consumption. And it is also scalable when compared with the proof of work. It is like support to multiple nodes. Like the number of nodes, the capacity of bearing this proof of POET is more. And coming to the disadvantages, requires trusted hardware, not as widely adopted. So it's not easy to adapt just like a proof of work mechanism, and it requires trusted hardware. Why? Because to randomize this, we are assigning some randomized clock, right? It's a hardware that it should be trusted. So next is proof of stake. The name itself, it is telling that the proof of stake, if I want to participate in the mining process, initially I should stake some amount. So it's just like I have some 10 bitcoins with me, A person, and the B person is having some 20 bitcoins with him. Then I'm staking some 5 bitcoins to validate the transaction. I'm depositing 5 bitcoins so that I'm eligible to validate the transaction. Then some other person, they came and they are saying that I will stake 10 bitcoins, then I am the eligible person to validate the transaction. So whoever stakes more, then they are eligible to validate the transaction. So example is Ethereum 2.0 and Cardano. So coming to the pros, low energy consumption than POW. As I said, the remaining all the consensus algorithms other than POW, they requires less energy only. And it is faster when compared with the all other. Coming to the cons, potential centralized risk, initial distribution of wealth can affect fairness. So here potential centralization risk in the sense, whoever is having the more amount of Bitcoin, then they are going to validate the transaction, right? So if he is having more bitcoins at every iteration or at every time, then he will get the chance every time. So it's not like fair, right? So it will become like a centralization in the sense, he will be the central person who is going to validate the transaction in every time. And delegated proof of stake. So it's just similar to proof of stake. In proof of stake, whoever deposits more bitcoins, whoever stake more bitcoins, they are eligible to validate the transaction. But coming to delegated proof of stake, so here instead of amount, here we need some votes. So whoever gets more number of votes, it's just like a leader, selecting a leader based on number of votes. Whoever gets more votes, then that node is going to validate the transaction. So coming to the example, EOS is one application. So this is a blockchain protocol to support DApps, decentralized applications, right? So this is one application where it is using DPoS. And Tron is nothing but it is a decentralized blockchain platform focused on building a free global digital content entertainment. So these two applications, they are using delegated proof of stake. So coming to the proof, high transaction speed and it use low energy consumption. Coming to the disadvantages, potential centralization relies on the small group of validators. So again, the same issue, potential centralization. So whoever is having like more influence, then that particular node is going to elect every time, right? So that become again a centralized. So next is proof of authority. So a consensus mechanism where validators are pre-approved and identity verified, ensuring their authority to create new blocks. So here proof of authority in the sense I can be a person, I can be a node who is going to validate the node, but that person or that node should be identity verified. So they will check the identity and they will also ask for the voting mechanism. So it's not like a voluntary. It's like a voluntary. The previous one is not like that, but here voluntarily I can nominate myself to validate the transaction, but I should be verified. The identity will be verified and also pre-approved. I mean I should be approved by some other person here. Coming to the examples, VeChain, Ethereum's Kovan testnet, these are the examples for proof of authority. So coming to the advantages, it is high throughput, energy efficient. So it will use less energy and the output will be generated in less time. And coming to the cons, again it will become a centralized and less decentralized than POW and POS. So it becomes a centralized, right? So when a person, every time if they select only one person, then again it will become a centralized. So next is practical Byzantine fault tolerant. So here, in every blockchain, there might be some malicious nodes. So it will be applicable when the malicious nodes are less than the trusted nodes. So every time it will check. So if the malicious nodes are less when compared with the trusted nodes, then only this practical Byzantine will be applicable. And here the leader nodes will be selected. So leader nodes, how we are selecting? Leader nodes will be chosen and client nodes just follow the leader nodes. So one leader will be selected and they will simply follow that. It's just similar to the previous one, but the thing is here, every time it will check the malicious nodes also. If the malicious nodes are less, then only it will be applicable. Coming to the example, Hyperledger Fabric, and pros, coming to the pros, fast and high throughput, just compared to the just like the previous one. Coming to the cons, it is complex and requires high number of communication among the nodes. So why high communications in the sense to check the the validity of the node, whether the node is a trusted node or a malicious node. First I need to find out that. So for that it will become a complex, but the remaining everything is same as the previous. So last one is raft in the general consensus mechanisms. So in the raft, mainly it is focused for managing a replicated log, simpler and easier to understand. So each and every transaction or each and every task which is done by the node or the network, it has to maintain. Here we have three types of nodes. The node may undergo with the three different states: a leader, follower, or candidate. So it may all are considered as candidate. The candidate may be a leader or it may be a follower. So one leader will be selected. So for that leader, we have some term in the sense a specified time will be given. For example, we have some 24 hours consider. So for each 1 hour, I'm taking as a one task. So first 1 hour will be considered as task 1. Second 1 hour will be considered as task 2. So like that, 24th hour will be considered as task 24. So here for each task, each round or for each 1 hour, one leader will be selected. So who is going to select that leader? The followers will going to select that leader. So the followers generally, they will communicate with the leader. If the leader is not responding properly, automatically the leader will be considered as dead and the new leader will be selected. And what's the role of this leader in the sense? He has to maintain the log. So each and every transaction or each and every task which is done by the network, he has to note. If he is not noting properly, then also there may be a chance to remove this leader. And again, one of the follower who is active, then that particular follower will become the leader for the next task. And coming to the examples, Consul, etcd, these are some examples of raft. So etcd is nothing but it's an application which is used to store data across a cluster of missions. So to store the cluster of missions data, we are using this etcd. And coming to the advantages, simplicity, understandability, and high performance. So coming to the disadvantages, not Byzantine fault tolerant, suited for smaller controlled environments. That means they are not going to check for the malicious node, just like the previous algorithm, PBFT. So practical, Byzantine, and fault tolerant, they will also check for the malicious nodes, but here it is not checking that. Coming to the other consensus mechanism. So these are the 7 consensus mechanisms which we discussed now, we are using generally in most of the blockchains. But these are the some latest consensus mechanism, but we are not using mostly in most of the blockchains. So proof of stake anonymous, least proof of stake, proof of importance, proof of storage, proof of burn, proof of activity, proof of capacity, and directed acyclic graph. So these are the other consensus mechanisms. So we are using. So proof of stake anonymous. So we know already proof of stake, right? So proof of stake in the sense whoever stake most of the amount, then that particular node will become the validator. But proof of stake anonymous in the sense is just similar, but we are not revealing the identity of that person who is staking the amount. So anonymous in the sense we are providing some privacy for that person. We are not revealing the information of that person. So least proof of stake. So the problem with the proof of stake is, the thing is, if I have most of the Bitcoin, then only I can stake that. But in the least proof of stake, for example, one person is having some 10 Bitcoins, other person is having some 10 Bitcoins, and the third person is having some 15 Bitcoins. So the first person can keep, they can put only 10 maximum, 10 Bitcoins. The second person also can keep only the maximum 10. But if the third person comes and if he keep 15 Bitcoins, then he will be the person who is going to validate the transaction. So in the least proof of stake, so these two persons can group together and they can keep this 20 Bitcoins as stake and they can validate this transaction. So that is nothing but least proof of stake. So if I don't have the Bitcoins with me to stake, then I can borrow it from other person. I can borrow it from other node and I can do the staking process. So that is least proof of stake. And after validation, they will get some incentives, right? So that incentives they can share. So coming to the proof of importance, a consensus mechanism that considers not only the amount of currently held, but also the user activity and transactions within the network. So if I have the amount, so nothing like with that, only with the amount I can't do anything. So I should be active also. So here along with the stake, the currency which is having with the node, it is also checking the user activity and transactions, right? For example, if I have some eligible amount, then I can't go for the highest studies, right? They will also check the transaction history. So how many transactions we are doing, all these things they are checked, right? They will check, right? The same way it is not only checking the currency which is having with the node, it is also check the activity of that user and the transaction, what the user did or the node did, right? All these things will be checked before electing for the validity. And proof of storage. So in the proof of storage, so instead of going each and every transaction or each and every step, so directly it will go to the direct step. Wherever it is needed to validate the transaction, directly it will go. So coming to the proof of burn. Proof of burn is almost similar to proof of stake, but here I need to burn some Bitcoins to validate the transaction. Burn in the sense they will give some ID or the address. A public address will be given. So some person A is having some 100 Bitcoins. So before participating in the validation, what I need to do, I need to transfer some 10 Bitcoins to this particular address. So there's nothing but a burning, right? So proof of burn is nothing but the points, the participants burn. Burn is nothing but destroy a certain amount of cryptocurrency to share their commitment to the network. So if I want to participate in the validation process, I need to burn this, destroy this Bitcoins. How are you going to destroy this? Just send this Bitcoins, the particular Bitcoins to a specified address. So proof of activity. So a hybrid consensus mechanism. Proof of activity is nothing but it's a combination of multiple consensus mechanisms where we are using POW and POS, proof of work and proof of stake. So miners initially solved a POW puzzle So all the miners may not solve, only few miners will solve, right? So, and then a random group of validators. So whoever solved the puzzle, then they are eligible to stake the amount. For example, 3% solve the amount. Among these 3 people, whoever is having most of the stake, most of the amount or the most of the Bitcoin, then they are eligible to participate in the validation. And proof of capacity. So a consensus mechanism where the probability of mining is a block is determined by the amount of hard drive space allocated by the miner. So amount of the drive space, capacity in the sense, for example, I have some 100 GB. So some person is having some 200 GB, some other person is having some 500 GB. So like that, whoever is having more space, then they are eligible to participate in the validation process. Coming to the directed acyclic graph, the name itself, it is telling that all the nodes will be connected like a DAG, directed acyclic graph. So all these nodes are connected using DAG, directed, and there is no cycle. So it should not form any cycle. So each transaction confirms the previous transaction, leading to high scalability. So here what we are doing, so this transaction will validate the previous transaction. So this is the first transaction, right? Maybe second transaction. So what it will do, it will validate the previous transaction. And we have third transaction. So third transaction will validate the previous transaction. So like that, we don't need a miner here. So the transaction itself is validating the before transaction. So we don't need any special miner in this directed acyclic graph. So these are the different consensus algorithms. We are not using regularly, or most of the blockchain networks are not following this. But these are the latest consensus mechanisms which we are using daily. So that is about the consensus mechanism in blockchain. In this session, we discussed about what is consensus protocol. So why we need this consensus protocol. So the history is Byzantine generals problem, and what are the different objectives of this consensus protocol, and what are the different consensus algorithms which we are using regularly in most of the blockchains, and what are the different other consensus mechanisms which are also there in the blockchain mechanics. Thank you.